I was never meant to cross paths with him that evening. The restaurant sat in a shadowy corner of the city, a place our side of town never visited. Candles guttered on the tables, and the light was soft enough to hide small truths. I held a wineglass by the stem, listening to the man across from me, Daniel, as he talked, his laugh warm and easy. He leaned forward as if the world narrowed to the two of us. His cologne hung in the air, oddly intimate, like a cloak. Then I saw him. Michael, my husband of 11 years, standing across the room. He was frozen, eyes fixed on me in a way that ripped all the air from my lungs. There was no shout, no dramatic scene. My hand slipped. The glass clattered and broke on the tabletop. Sound fractured, everything else stilled. I tried to speak, to explain, but the words failed me. Michael didn't explode. He didn't storm over. He simply stared, a hollow, stunned stare, and then turned and walked out, leaving me with my face burning and my stomach collapsing inward. That single look changed everything. When I returned home the next night, the house felt wrong. Michael always left on a light for me if I arrived late. The living room was usually a small island of warmth. That night it was dark and empty. I found him at the kitchen table, hunched over, phone in his hand, not looking up. "Michael," I said, soft enough not to startle him. "Please, let me explain." His laugh came out brittle and small. "Explain what?" he asked. "That I walked into a restaurant and saw my wife sitting with another man? What part of that needs explanation, Claire?" My chest folded under the weight of his words. I tried to stitch together something true. "It's not what it looked like." He finally met my eyes. "Do you think I'm an idiot?" he said, voice sharp with pain. I stammered, he's just a friend." He slammed his palm on the table so hard I jumped. He spoke not with fury, but with a kind of wounded disbelief. "I watched you. Do you understand how that looked? The way you leaned in. The way you smiled. That wasn't friendship. That was us. The way you used to look at me." Each observation landed like a cut. After that, a cold wall settled between us. Michael retreated into himself. He left before dawn for work and came home late. When he was present, he kept busy with pointless chores. He took the guest room. I tried everything to mend the breach. Cooking his favorite dishes, leaving little notes, reaching for him as he passed, but he recoiled as if my touch hurt. One night, when all pretense finally broke, I fell apart in the hallway and tried to stop him. "I made a mistake," I confessed, tears hot on my face. "Please don't throw this away." His expression hardened. "One mistake," he repeated, incredulous. "Do you really hear yourself? Do you think meeting another man behind my back, letting him get close to you, is just a mistake?" I told him then that nothing physical had happened. Michael's laugh was a low, painful sound. "That doesn't change anything," he said. "You gave him the part of you that used to be mine. Now I don't recognize you." Those words fell heavier than any fight. They echoed through the days that followed. Time stretched thin, and every silence was its own punishment. Conversations shrank to necessities, glances were guarded, and the house felt like a stage where we pretended to coexist. Then one Saturday morning he dropped a quieter blow. "I talked to a lawyer," he announced. My hand trembled and a cup slipped from my fingers, coffee spreading in a dark pool across the counter. "A lawyer?" I said, voice breaking. He looked at me with a calm I hated. "I can't keep living like this. I can't sleep without picturing you with someone else. I can't keep wondering what else you're hiding." I tried to tell him I hadn't meant to hurt him, that I felt invisible, that he had been distant. He listened, and his face softened, not with forgiveness, but with a pity that felt worse than anger. "So you found someone to fill the silence rather than speak to me," he said. "Do you know how small that makes me feel?" I reached for him, but he drew back. "I loved you," I whispered. "I still do." His jaw tightened. "You don't destroy the people you love," he said, voice low and steady. A week later I found a letter on the kitchen table, Michael's handwriting meticulous and deliberate. I unfolded the paper with trembling fingers. He wrote that he didn't hate me, that he still loved me, and that precisely because he loved me so much he could no longer stay. He couldn't spend his life haunted by the image of his wife with someone else. He said he had tried to be enough and failed. His words were spare but searing. I sat down on the floor and let the paper fall from numb hands. The weight of what he wrote pressed the air from me. The divorce followed with an efficiency that felt surreal. There were no courtroom battles, no dramatic confrontations. Michael signed the papers with the same quiet precision he'd used to craft that letter. He didn't fight over money or the house. He simply stepped away, as if by doing so he could spare us both further damage. The night the finality settled in, I lay in the place where we had shared a bed for years and felt the absence like a physical thing. I had imagined time would soften everything, that with space and silence he might come back around. But it wasn't that. He didn't come back. He built a life in which I no longer existed. Months later, I saw him by chance in the cereal aisle of a grocery store. He looked different, not in a way I wanted to reclaim, but simpler, lighter, as if something enormous had been lifted from his shoulders. My throat tightened. "Michael," I said before I could stop myself. He nodded, polite but distant, the nod one gives to an unfamiliar face. "Claire," he replied. I wanted to reach out, to tell him I was sorry, to tell him that I missed him, and that losing him had hollowed me. Instead, the words that came were small and jagged. "I miss you." He studied me for a moment, and then the softness I'd hoped for died in his eyes. "I don't," he said. He turned and walked away, and with each step he took he carried with him a piece of the life we had once shared. It was in that quiet aisle, watching him become a stranger, that the true measure of what I'd done settled over me. The worst damage wasn't the argument, the slammed doors, or the signed papers. It was the way he had learned to see me as someone else entirely, an absence rather than a person. I had taken a man who loved me with every flaw and faith I'd once known, and I had broken him so thoroughly he could exist without me. The punishment wasn't noise or spectacle, it was erasure. He didn't yell, he didn't beg, he didn't make a scene. He simply built a world where I was not present, and then he stepped into it. Standing there, I understood the price of what I'd done, not as a legal penalty, but as a lifelong quiet. The knowledge that my choices had undone a man who had once believed in me wholly. That silence, the one that replaced him in my life, was louder and more final than any anger. It caught in my chest and would not let go.